Hi, my name is Peter Berninger, and your name is?
My name is Zach Galarza.
We're both with AV Showrooms,
Of course.
and we're here to give you a show report wrap-up. We just spent 3 days at the show in Newport, California. Zach, I'm going to lead off to you. What struck your fancy? What was the best thing you heard at the show?
Well, the thing is that attending shows more often now, you really get a sense of which manufacturers really know how to cope with, showroom conditions, and it becomes consistent. So my first pick has to go to some of the big hitters in our industry, such as Magico and YG Acoustics. They were really able to kind of pull it off in their rooms, along with, of course, acoustical treatment that helped the situation, but also their expertise in, placing the loudspeaker directly in the room as to portray a convincing soundstage, really bring you into that performance.
Well, I'm going to jump in on that. I'm going to say, yeah, I don't disagree. I think the Magico S1, I think that was really a standout loudspeaker here at the show, and I think that, it didn't surprise me, but it did, was the Sonya. Now the Sony loudspeaker we have in the review, so we kind of know it, but it really set up well in the show. They were driving it with great tenor amplifiers. And my gosh, how can you tenor amplifiers, Sony loudspeakers? How can you go wrong? But you can go wrong in a show report and in a show, because you can get a bass bump, or you can get a slap echo in the room. They didn't have it, and it sounded really good. Give me another pick.
I actually have to give my nod to Synergistic Research. They were really able to bring a square room just a little bit closer to a more ideal performance area, which was really interesting. Of course, they had the Q7s, which is not an easy loudspeaker to move around or to adapt to our space. So that was really a good effort on their part.
Well, I'm going to have to rain on that parade, because I got in that room, and I heard that room last year, and I heard that room this year, and that room sounded just like it did last year, which was bad. I thought that the room had lots of slap echo. I mean, you could hear so much slap echo in that room, you might as well have just been in a bathroom.
This is how our industry thrives. We have to have different opinions, or else there's no moving forward.
That's right, but what I will give the Q7 something redeeming. They did through a very, very convincing soundstage.
Yes.
Now, along with a little bit of slap echo in the room, a little bit of a bass bump, things were good. Now, what was good in that room was the Synergistic Research demo. It showed the difference between having the Tranquility bass on and having the Tranquility bass off. And Synergistic Research's CEO T.H.E. convinced the audience that having the Tranquility bass on warmed up the sound, gave a more three-dimensionality to the presentation. So it was one of those, it was cool, but I disagree with Zach. Okay, give me another one, Zach.
Another one, I would have to say, kind of like the sound of the Brooks Burdan suite. They were displaying Spendor, and kind of a quality of that room that was able to bring you in was the overall way the loudspeakers were able to disappear, given that it's such a small space. But Scott, who is one of the head guys over there, he was able to bring in large diffusers into the rooms, which he loaded into the corners, which really helped the situation. But that room really had kind of an inviting sound. It invited you to sit down, which is really, what an audio system, you want an audio system to do. You want to be able for it to draw you in. So that was really another one that stood out.
I like that room too. And I think also, if you were talking about inviting sound, and it was, mid-afternoon on Sunday, right. I think the Voxative room today, with the Cronzillas, I think that was another standout. I heard those Voxative speakers when they were rolled out at the Flamingo this year, and they were okay. They had this really large baffle. It's about that wide. The speaker is a single driver unit. It sits down in the middle, and it's all I could hear was just like this big plank of wood. Well, today it sounded like a loud speaker. It disappeared in the room, and I was drawn into the beautiful music that was being played. I have it captured on video, so you'll be able to see it. But no, I would have to give Voxative with Cronzilla a real good runner-up, at least for me today. How about another one that stood out for you?
Another one that stood out, of course, has to go to T.H.E. I really thought their setup really sparkled, especially in the higher frequencies. It wasn't bright or fatiguing or glassy in any way, but it was really smooth and kind of a great insight into whatever recording they would play. So that was really a kind of more engaging room, kind of like a YG Acoustics kind of engagement kind of thing. So in other words, really close to the orchestra, 4 rows away. So.
Okay, now here's one, it's kind of like an industry standard, Wilson Audio. We know the speakers. We hear them in so many shows. I think I've heard Wilson loudspeakers at least 100 different times. Well, Musical Surroundings had the Sasha Watt puppy set up really well at this show, and I'd have to give a nod to that as one of the best sounds at the show. And you know, sometimes Wilson will do that. It'll come through. It's all in how you set them up. Sounding really good. Wilson, Watt puppy Sasha, in the Musical Surrounding room. Okay, give me another one, Zach.
Another one has to go to Audio Research and their Vandersteen loudspeakers that they had in that room. In that room, they were playing a lot of vinyl. They had a big, massive spaceship-like turntable in that room, which is really a lot of eye candy. But it really proved itself sonically, just with an overall improving, you know, that depth and that grab in the sound that you really want from vinyl. That's native to vinyl. And but the only ding about that room that I would give it was that it didn't really have that 3D spacing out, that kind of extreme depth that you really like in audio reproduction. But again, other qualities were right on spot. Imaging of the loudspeakers was fantastic. You couldn't tell that they were playing. They removed themselves from the equation. And the overall sound, again, like the other rooms I mentioned, were very inviting and invited you to sit down and listen to some records. So that was really, it was a lot of fun.
Yeah, and I'll throw in one of the last ones, and we can wrap this up. Yeah. Again, YG, Keypods, Bolachi. We just played a beautiful, beautiful rendition of Danny Boy, and you'll hear it on the video. That rendition of Danny Boy with those YGs, that Bolachi, and that Stall-Tech deck, oh gosh, was wired up with Purist Audio. That's a great combination, that system in that room. I had to give that high vote. Now, it sounded really good today. Did it sound good yesterday? I don't know. I didn't hear it yesterday. The thing about a show is, the first day of the show, everybody's getting the bugs out. The systems have to settle in a little bit. The second day of the show, well, they begin to gel a little, and you can really get a feel for what does this stuff really, really sound like. And the third day of the show is bing.
And that's the thing. That's another good point about a show, is that as it progresses, the sound does get better, and it's really nice to see. So by the end of the show, the good rooms sound even better.
Yeah, the way to attend the show is you want to get to the show on the last day and then go backwards in time. Peter Burning reporting from AV Showrooms.
Zach Lars as well.
Okay, thank you very much. From the show in Newport Beach, California.